Storytelling is everything. It's the reason I have 1 million followers and was able to gain 135,000 followers in a single month. And today, I'm going to show you the 4 greatest storytelling techniques I've ever come across so that you can go crazy fucking viral too. Show, don't tell, technique 1. It's one of the easiest ways to level up your writing. Now, as much as I'd love to take credit for this, I can't. Anton Chekhov, a legendary storyteller, came up with the concept. Now, let me give you a small example to show you how it works. A bad example would be, John was very angry. But a good example would be, John slammed his fist on the kitchen table. His eyes bulged and his face went red. But I know what you're thinking. Shut up, you storytelling nerd, I want to make some money. Let me introduce you to the 200 object challenge. Back in 2009, a journalist by the name of Rob Walker really wanted to know the impact stories had on sales. So he heads over to eBay and buys $129 worth of random shit. He then got his writers to add a compelling show don't tell story to each item and then relisted them all on eBay. One of the items was a horse's head, and I'll let legendary TED talker David J.P. Phillips explain the rest.
One of the objects was this beautiful horse's head. There we go. The beautiful horse's head. Now, this beautiful horse's head was bought for 99 cents and was sold when a story was added for $62.95. That is a slight increase of 6,395%. So was this a one-off situation? Not really, because he bought the 200 objects for a total of $129, selling them for $8,000.
But it does mean that you end up using more words, which isn't always a good thing, which brings me on nicely to the next point. Trim the fat. Once you're done with your script, go through and remove absolutely everything that isn't essential. If you cut a sentence, a paragraph, or a phrase, and it still works, you never needed it in the first place. Here's an example of a fat script and then a skinny script. There have been so many times in my life where I really struggled with self-doubt, and it's honestly been one of the biggest things holding me back from going after the things I want. I would constantly find myself getting stuck in my head, worrying about what people might think of me, questioning whether my ideas were good enough, and just kind of spiraling into this sort of cycle of fear and hesitation that kept me from taking action. I didn't fail because I wasn't good enough. I failed because I hesitated. So the bad example was fluffy and used unnecessary words like honestly and sort of, and was meandering throughout. We have a natural tendency to say too much, to give too much context, thinking that it makes what we say more powerful and clearer. But actually, it does the opposite. But a massive caveat here, that doesn't mean that you should always cut. There's a reason that Lord of the Rings and Game of Thrones are big fucking books. The lesson here is that when you can say less, you should say less. And that moves us on to technique 3. Conflict is the glue. Without conflict, you've signed up for a marathon, you run the marathon, it's all good. With conflict, you've signed up for a marathon, but then your knees completely buckle halfway through and you have to fight to finish. Without conflict, our main character is a teenage girl called 11 and she lives a normal life. With conflict, our main character is a teenage girl called 11 who wants to live a normal life, but ends up having to fight monsters from the upside down. And here's an example from a short form creator, Reed Olson.
Come on, man!
Hey, first time?
He got you too? What an asshole!
It is what it is.
Wait, are you not mad?
Why would I be mad?
Because some dude just went out of his way to splash you with that puddle. What do you mean, eh?
Oh, it's sunny out, I got a brew. What do I care if I get splashed a couple of times?
No, this is ridiculous, man. You have every right to be mad about this.
Without conflict, 2 guys on the side of the road just having a chit chat. With conflict, 2 guys on the side of the road and they get soaked by water and one of them could literally care less about it and they get into a conflict over it. Finally, this moves us on to technique number 4. Special sauce. This is arguably the most important of the lot. What we're doing right now with these whiteboards and moving location, it just gives it an elevated experience, right? Imagine Thanos from Avengers was a dude that was like 96, had cataracts, was fat, bald, stank, and was impotent. It's not a super interesting story, is it really? And equally, Minions, imagine they weren't like pathetically stupid. It would just like, we want to stay away from the middle. We want to find the extremities. We want to find the special sauce, the thing that makes the story interesting, makes it stand out from other stories and from other videos that you might see. Now let me show you some examples so this is super clear to see how it works in short form content. Another day, another ad I'm sexually attracted to. Here we go.
La Reverb.
Do these for a stronger upper body in just 30 minutes at home. Start with 10 shoulder presses to build your front and side shoulder.
Now, storytelling is incredibly important, and I owe a great deal of my success to storytelling. But without these other 10 things, I would have never got to where I got to. So if you want to check out what those things are, watch this video next.